Good morning, good evening, and wherever the sun may find you. My name is Walt, and this is Coffee and Concepts on Keystroke Medium. Today, we have a special show for everybody because we have Keystroke Medium Coffee Writer's Block. No, I'm kidding. We have Jeffrey H. Haskell on the show. How are you, sir?
Oh, I'm fantastic. Well, how you doing this morning?
Not bad, not bad. And joining me is my special co-host, my brother from another mother, from the Banff podcast. We have Mike Lafferty. How are you, sir?
Hey, Walt, pleasure to be here. May I say that was a deeply moving introductory video you have there.
I like that music. This reminded me of like a spaghetti western kind of music.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. I was, Sierra Leone,
and not too far from me.
Yeah.
There might be something with a lever action and something with a revolver. I won't say what. And if anybody asks, it fell in the lake. We have Josh Hayes chiming in this morning saying, first, absolutely. Good morning, sir. And then, of course, William Joseph Roberts saying, morning, Walt. Hola. Those of you who are watching on Facebook, there might be a little hiccup. There's been a hiccup for a couple of days. So if you can't get me there, I will bring it up on my Fellatone and maybe I can see what you're talking about. All right. So today we are talking to Jeff, but before we do that, we have to get a coffee check because you can't have a coffee and concept show and not talk about coffee. I'm deep into an Italian roast and it's mighty tasty, mighty smoky. I don't put anything in it. I just like my coffee flavored. Mike, what are you drinking?
Broomfield, Colorado tap water.
Is it smoky as well?
It actually is, but that's because there's some problems in the reservoir right now.
That's fantastic.
Usually I drink. I grind my own beans. I do the whole thing, but I have very sensitive cats, and if I make coffee this morning, I'll wake them up. That wakes my wife up. The rest of my day is hell. So alas, I'm a henpecked married man, and I'm drinking water at 5:30.
Do not wake up your wife.
Yeah.
No.
Let's see, Jeff, what are you drinking this morning?
Coke Zero.
Well, it's got. Does it have caffeine?
It does. 41 milligrams per 12 ounces.
It counts. It definitely.
And
counts.
I've got this awesome bag of Keystroke Medium Coffee Writer's Block that amazing Josh Hayes sent me.
That is Josh's favorite, from what I understand.
It smells delicious.
I got to tell you, I got 2 bags in the mail yesterday, and you can smell them like from the mailbox.
Oh my gosh! As soon as I opened it, I was like, it was in my car, and I was like, "Ooh!"
Yeah, oh my god! And we picked up Writer's Block, and we picked up some of the Keystroke Medium blend, and we're going to be pushing those out to the community. A couple people
maybe
who are like,
put a link somewhere. So
don't you worry, there will be linkage. But speaking of linkage, Mike and I are like huge fans of the superhero genre, and now up on YouTube. Okay, hi Sam. We're big fans of the superhero genre, and we love all the capes and cowls set. What started you writing in superhero fiction?
Oh gosh, well, I love superheroes. And, it's actually kind of a funny story about writing because superheroes was not my first pick as a genre. In fact, I didn't even know it was a genre in 2011, I think, is when I discovered it, and I started reading Wearing the Cape and
Marion Harmon.
Yeah, George, great guy. I met him at Vegas last year before last, the last time there was a Vegas, and
there's still a Vegas. It's just a little different.
I had lunch with him, and he was a really cool guy, really fun to talk to. And he let me pick his brain about the different things he came up with for. I must have set my alarm wrong because it just went off on my wrist. He let me pick his brain about how he came up with the Wearing the Cape stuff. But I read Wearing the Cape and Confessions of a D-List Supervillain back in 2011.
That book is so much fun.
Oh my gosh, isn't it? Writing action is for me comparatively easy. Writing believable characters and superpowers and things like that. But writing comedy, that's something else.
Yeah, but you were in the Army. You should have that down pat.
Writing comedy?
Yeah.
Comedy of errors.
Every day in the Army it was comedy.
Comedy of errors, my friend. Yeah. It's so funny is I actually have to put I said every once in a while, my wife was like, "Wait, you think that's funny?" And I'll be like, you don't?" So you gotta, when you're in the military, you kind of have to stifle yourself around civilians because it's like they don't get what your sense of humor was when you're in, and sometimes people can be a little shocked by that. So I don't necessarily put all that in my books, especially since I'm shooting for an all ages crowd.
Right on.
But I mean, there are very few things funnier than seeing somebody deserve to get their butt kicked, get their butts seriously kicked. I mean, that's rolling the floor laughing for me, and everybody else in the theater is always like, "What's wrong with that guy?"
What did you think about the scene in? If you haven't seen Avengers, for God's sake, stop it now! But
are you giving a spoilers spoilers warning for a 10-year-old movie, Walt?
Yeah, I might. Yep.
Okay, right.
So I was going to say, what happened when you were in the theater and all of a sudden a certain Star Spangled Avenger caught a certain hammer?
Oh, dude. I was both cheering and crying at the same time. And it continued on through Avengers Assemble, which was the moment I've been waiting for my whole life. So after the movie was over, I told Rebecca, my wife, I told her, I was like, "Hey, hon, if they hose Marvel from here on out, I'm okay." Because I got it. I got my moment. And my lab is outside the door whining at me. So I read those two books and I thought, you know what? I mean, I didn't know superheroes was a genre. I mean, it was like, you see the Marvel and DC stuff here and there, but nothing independent. And at the time, the independent book movement was pretty new. And so I started reading a whole bunch of stuff. My wife was always wanting to be a writer, and she's been working on a epic fantasy novel at the time. And so we were talking back and forth, and she introduced me to this awesome writer who, you guys wouldn't know who she was. She's just, little name Lindsay Broker, I think. And I started reading her blog, and she wrote this blog at the time about writing under a pen name and making like something like $12,000 in a month. No advertisement, no nothing, just pen name and writing to market, so to speak. And her idea of writing a market is similar to my idea of writing a market. Oh, hey, there's this group of people and they like reading what I like writing, so there you go.
Like a plan.
And so I wrote a superhero novel, and it was a Supergirl analogy, kind of. And she was really cool, and it was terrible. It was just terrible. It was just 21 stories that were vaguely connected by the fact that the main character was the same main character, and lots about her. And it was 2011, so kept learning to write, kept working. Lost my job during that time because I got sick, and went back to school and all this other stuff. And then just things got kind of bad in 2015. My wife was pregnant and the jobs weren't working out. And I was just like, I have never been happy doing anything in my entire life. I've never been fulfilled. I've never, you've got your personal box, you got your spiritual box, and you got your work box, right? My work box has been bone dry my whole life. And writing was making me happy. And I was like, just let me do it. Let me have a year. I told her, let me have 1 year of we're going to be poor, but we already were. So it's like, let me have a year, and if I can't make it work in a year, then that's it. I'll go work at McDonald's if I have to. And so I got up every morning at 5 a.m., watched Chris Fox, 21-day novel challenge, and like you do, watched everything he did, watched everything Science Fiction Fantasy Marketing Podcast had, read all the books, got involved in the community back when there was what was the name of that board? Back when it still existed, the one that went to heck really quick, Kindle boards.
Mm-hmm.
It's so funny is I felt like I joined that and then it kind of went to hell. But what do you do? And
are you saying it was your fault, Jeff?
Yeah, it might have been.
Okay.
I went to work for Microsoft, and 6 months later, they were like, "Here, we need you to train we need you to train these guys in India on how to do your job." I'm like, "Oh, great! Like we're opening up a new division over there." No, you literally need to train them how to do your job because you don't have one anymore. And
Yeah,
so
that's working on IT.
that happened multiple times to me, which is really odd. But the so yeah, I worked really hard every day, 6 7 days a week, just trying to get better. I sucked, and I always loved storytelling. I was always the DM, and I was always writing short stories about Shadowrun and Dungeons and Dragons, but always my own characters, never anybody else's. Like I never wrote like Driz Jordan fan fiction because I wouldn't, you know, it would be insulting for me to write Driz Jordan, and so and then back in July of 2016, I had done a bunch of research, and I just completed a urban fantasy trilogy that I had written. And because at the time, urban fantasy, well, I mean, it still is, but at the time it was like on fire. I mean, it was so big. But it was urban fantasy, and I didn't know what I wanted to write, and so I didn't want to put my name on it. So I put a pen name on it, and then before I published it, thankfully, I saw Kindle Scout was doing a thing, and thought, well, what's the worst they could say? It's 30 days, and they can say no, and that's it. And so I did it, and 41 days later, they called me and offered me a publishing contract.
Dude.
And it was pretty awesome. I mean, I thought my star was set. I'm sorry, guys. 1 second, my dog is killing me here.
Yeah, no worries.
Yeah, mine always tries to figure out ways to take over the world.
Well, it's because he's a Malinois.
Yep. And thank you for being one of the 4 people on the planet that can say that correctly. Because you used to own one.
Come on.
Where is he? Come on, show the dogs. Love. Oh, I see lab nose. Oh, it's a black lab. My favorite.
That's a good boy.
He is a good boy. He's a little pain sometimes, but he's a good boy. Come on, get up here. Get up here. Come on. Stop. Decide what you want to do.
That's awesome. Dogs
Timmy,
rule.
get up here. Get up here. Come on. You can do this in your sleep.
My butt. Yep, that's awesome.
Okay, so
first of all, what's the dog's name?
Indiana.
Yeah.
We named the dog Indiana.
Yes, fantastic. And does he appear in any of your books?
Not yet. That hadn't occurred to me to do, but he should.
I've got a feeling there's a huge untapped market out there for dog fiction that is just waiting for someone to start writing it.
Somebody I know wrote like a dog superhero book or something. Can't remember exactly what it was, but
yeah, there
like the animals are superheroes.
There was a large dollar Kickstarter for an RPG. It was Pugmire. It's fantasy RPG where it's dogs, and there have been various follow-ons. Anyway, getting off subject. Jeff.
No, it's fine. I'm great at off subject.
Yeah.
I thought Amazon was selling my book. My ship is my sales are set, and they published the first one. I think it hit 124 on the store.
Crazy.
And I made a crazy amount of money in one day, and Rebecca and I were dancing around the house. She's like, I can't believe you're a writer. And I was like, I can't believe I'm a writer either, because I have some. Turns out I'm dyslexic and I have ADHD, so it's like super hard for me to write coherently without errors. And so people always look at the errors and go, oh, you can't write because you don't know how to spell words. And I'm like, I do know how to spell words. They just don't ever seem to come out right on the paper. And but then Amazon just did absolutely F all with the rest of the series. Just nothing. No advertisement, nothing. And I'd email them and I'd call them. And the people at Kindle Press, who were super nice and very supportive and helpful, were like, well, we don't control the advertising arm. That's a different organization. And it just turned out what I came to the realization is that they were just interested in publishing a whole bunch of books and getting those IPs and seeing what happened and what stuck. And then the very, very most successful ones, they took over to like 47 North and Montdale and whatever. And Everybody else they just didn't care about. And that's just the way the big publishers. That's nothing against Amazon. That's just how publishers are. They're really like a little kid. They wanted the most reward for the least effort.
Now, speaking
And
of little kids, what do you think draws people to superhero fiction over like grabbing the panels and pages of a comic?
that's a great question. They're all old and they look like us, and they read awesome comics when they were kids, and they can't find that experience anymore.
Well, it's
And so,
also,
yeah,
I'm sorry, it's awfully hard to break into comics, and it's a lot easier to write a comic book, write prose
well, I
fiction.
mean, it's a lot easier to write anything than break into anything. But I mean, like most people suck. I mean, like the 90% of everything sucks rule. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, I love indie authors and I love traditionally published authors, but 90% of them are just terrible. I've been blessed and fortunate enough to be involved with some of to know some of the very best. But even I sucked when I started, and I think I published Arsenal in 2017. I kind of got long-winded on my story. Sorry about that. But I published Arsenal in 2017 because I really wanted to be a military sci-fi author. But that's when, right at the beginning of that year, is when Chris kicked off Right to Market, and Michael Anderle gotten up and running really good with his series, and all of a sudden there was Nick Webb's series was running, and so there's military sci-fi everywhere, and I'm like, well, I got to write something, and I had this great idea for a superhero who was in a wheelchair, kind of like an Iron Man-esque character who. But I wanted to break all the tropes because at that point, everything I read was all the Iron Man characters were men and all the Supergirl characters were girls. And so I was like, well, I'm going to make an Iron Man-esque character that's a woman. And turned out to be really popular with Arsenal. I mean, I think I sold, I want to say 300 books the first month I released it, which, I mean, some people, you're like, that's not a lot. But you got to understand, 99% of all indie authors don't sell 200, 300 books a year. So to sell 200, 300 books in a month is like a huge deal, especially for a quote unquote first time author. It was first time under my name. So, and then the sequel got Unstoppable Arsenal, got like 400 pre-orders, and yeah, I've been writing steadily ever since. I wrapped up Arsenal at the beginning of this year. Was the last book I published so far. This was not this year, excuse me, last year. I'm not used to it being 2021 yet.
A lot of people aren't. There's a lot of carryover.
But so yeah, Ultimate Arsenal came out in January of 2020, and I had huge plans for last year. Huge plans for last year, and I wrote nothing else that year.
Oh no!
I mean, I published nothing else. I wrote 180,000 words in my military sci-fi trilogy I'm doing for Athon Books. But I was supposed to write the whole 3 books last year, and I did not even close. And yeah, so and then in 2019, 2019? No, 2018, I started a second series in the same Arsenal verse called Wraith, which is has my favorite tagline of all time, which is if Wraith is what happens if Batman and Punisher have a baby raised by John Wick. It's that response every time. I love it.
That's awesome.
And she's not as popular as Arsenal, but she still sells really well, and she's really a lot of fun to write. And so yeah, it's just one of the things that I feel like though really does it with superheroes is that people come to fiction to escape. J.R.R. Tolkien has this famous quote about I'm gonna mangle it here, so sorry all the Tolkien fans about if our job as fiction writers is to write escapism, then like an officer who's a prisoner of war, it's our job to take as many people with us as we can. And while there are things in my fiction that are speak about the world that I live in and the day and the time and history, my concepts are timeless and my themes are timeless. I don't get complicated with things. I feel like the strongest stories have the simplest themes. If you've got to have a dissertation read to you on, basket weaving, then you probably aren't the one. You aren't getting a good theme there. So my themes are all courage and duty and resolve and um, friendship, things like that. I usually go so far. One thing I'm drawn to is having two characters one who isn't a person and one who is a person who can be friends. So Amelia in Arsenal has an AI companion who's her best friend, and then in Wraith, spoiler alert, the main character Madison has a entity inside of her that gives her powers that she talks to.
Oh,
And,
that's a common comic trope, actually.
yeah, absolutely, yeah. And having read like all the Marvel comics, and I say that without hyperbole there, from 1980 to like 1991, and having read probably half of all the DC comics, I'm really steeped into that era of storytelling, the Chris Claremont, era of storytelling, and so my comics read like that, or my books read like those comics. And when I run ads, or when I did run ads, I don't run them anymore. The age bracket always came back. The vast majority of people buying my books was 35 to 65, 70-30 men and women. So they're just people who grew up reading the comics that I read, who love comics about good guys who are actually good and bad guys who are actually bad, and no ambiguity there. And in the end, hopefully, and the characters stand up for each other and blow up stuff along the way.
Well, speaking of blowing up along the way, you got something coming up that is pretty interesting, and it's kind of blowing up Keystroke Medium, and everybody's talking about it. So you're going to be writing a book in 24 hours. What's that?
My graphic.
I steal from the best. So you're going to be writing a book in 24 hours. This blows my brain case. I don't know about you, but I'm not going to grab the energy drink. I'm definitely grabbing the popcorn because that's kind of my jam. I got questions about this. So many questions. So how did you
also have questions? Go ahead.
How did you decide to, or why did you decide to do this?
That's a great question. Thank you for asking, Walt. I appreciate that.
I have a few, and when I get them, I write them down. So,
my career last year was just sucky. Last year, that's not news to anybody. I know there are some authors who did really well last year, and more power to them. Financially speaking, I did okay. It wasn't my best year ever. It wasn't my worst year by far, but probably my second best year, to be honest. And for not releasing any books other than the one in the beginning of the year, I can't really complain about that. When I say it was sucky, it was like sucked me personally, emotionally. I spent most of last year depressed, and I really wanted to do this year differently. And I'm a firm believer in you'll finish the year and how you start the year. And so I wanted to do something different, something exciting, and something that would get people talking and inspire some imagination and really get me going. And I also wanted to I'm a big fan of diversification, right? You got to diversify. You've got to, clearly what we've been seeing the last 48 hours, having all your eggs in one basket is no longer an option. The question only now is can we diversify far enough? So what the?
I didn't do it, I swear.
It wasn't
not my fault.
Oh, my phone is, gosh, there's another alarm. I set a lot of alarms.
I know your pain.
Yeah, one article 15 for being late, and you just never not set an alarm ever again.
Yep.
And so but I didn't know how, right? I've never really been much into YouTube or the YouTube community. My wife is just crazy about makeup YouTubes. But the stuff I watch YouTube for is not, I watch the operators, I watch special forces guy talking about clearing rooms and things like that, because that's research to me, and also I enjoy watching it. And I watch some political stuff, and I watch basically, and car crashes. I can't get enough of car crashes and people driving like idiots in the snow.
Are you talking about those Russian dash cam?
Yeah. Yeah,
where the
in
dude
Russia.
flips over his motorcycle and lands on somebody else's roof. That was funny.
That was I think that was in the Ukraine. And yeah, I remember that one when it came out. Yeah, stuff like that, right? I love that. People falling in the snow, fails. God, I can't get enough of fails. But like,
Denny's fights.
you'd be like YouTube channels though, like where people are like, "Hi, this is my YouTube channel." The only one I've ever watched really where people spoke was Chris Fox.
Hmm.
Good morning, I'm Chris Fox. I'm not, but Chris's I'll watch all the time because he's very motivational and.
Yeah, we had him on the other show, the Banff podcast.
Yeah, he's such a happy guy,
Right?
He's a good dude.
And I could listen to that man talk all day long. And was he talking about his RPG on Banff?
We did, and I also mentioned that I might have been jealous of his beard.
I wish I've got like enough Native American in me that growing facial hair is just not an option.
Yeah, and I got too much Mediterranean in me, so that when I grow a beard, I end up on a watch list. So,
so I didn't know where to begin, so I started looking at all these different other YouTubers who are like super popular, like the NASA guy who builds the glitter bombs for people.
those are awesome.
Yeah.
He's like the second or third most watched person on YouTube, and he releases a video a year or a video a month or something like that. Something ridiculous. But then I discovered this guy, Mr. Beast. And again, I don't know anything about YouTube, so I didn't realize he was a celebrity when I discovered him. I say I discovered him, but And I read this article about him, and he was talking about how he got successful. Now you got to understand, my entire career has been reading articles about people who are more successful than me and then doing what they did. And, whether it be Chris Fox or Lindsay Broker, not exactly what they did. I don't copy them. I just like with Chris, he taught me to work hard. You work hard and it will happen. And with Lindsay, it was, you can make this X kind of money if you are consistent and release often. And so, kind of like the book, Wear the Clothes for the Job You Want, I hang out with authors for the income I want.
Now, see, I tried that. And I got busted twice because you can't show up to work in a Batman costume or dressed as Snake Eyes from G.I. Joe. And walking in with the Mandalorian helmet just got me kicked out the third time. So,
there's that. You just had the wrong job, though. This is the thing. You need to go to Comic-Con.
Well, no, I used to have the right job because, I wanted to be Snake Eyes. And I got to do that for 20 years, but then when I tried to carry that over to the new profession, it just didn't take.
Yeah, that's great.
Hey, Jeff, can I ask you a question?
Oh, sure, yeah. I can talk forever, so please interrupt me.
No worries. So you're writing a whole novel, 24 hours, February 2nd.
Yes.
6 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. Are you in California?
No, I'm in Idaho, but everybody understands what PST is. Nobody understands what MST is.
Gotcha. Yeah, I'm in Colorado, so I'm there with you. I understand. Time zones, they're problematic. All right, Walt and I are a little bit older than you, but I have trouble staying up for 24 hours these days. Yeah, I'm 48.
So you're not.
Oh, well, you look so young and youthful. I thought you were like 35.
It's called fat.
Oh, okay.
Keeps your face young.
Okay.
Oh my God.
I'm 47.
Mm-hmm.
So you are
right.
a minute older than me.
All right, so we're right there. I have trouble staying up 24 hours these days. A lot of coffee will be involved, possibly some chemical enhancements. How are you making this happen, sir?
How many kids do you have?
One.
Do you remember when they were newborn?
Yes.
And you had to get up in the middle of the night
Yes.
and walk around with them forever?
Mm-hmm.
That's how I'm making it happen. I got 4.
Okay.
Practice.
All right.
I do have a plan. It's not as easy as all that. I've got no, I'm not giving away a Lambo, Roland. But if I was, it would be to you. I do have a plan for how much caffeine I'm going to drink. 12 milligrams or 40 milligrams per hour. That's the optimal amount for somebody my body weight to get the best effect from caffeine. I was going to drink a 5-hour energy, but I recently was experimenting with them. And realized I turn into an a-hole at the end of the day if I drink a 5-hour energy during the day.
I have experienced
because they work really.
Mm-hmm.
Really?
Yeah.
They work really well.
I used to mainline that stuff. I do tech support, and some days it's interesting and challenging, and some days it's just fixing very simple problems for very stupid people. So,
Well,
yeah,
that's like, yeah, tech support. Yeah, it's an
yeah.
ID10T error, sir.
Are you sure it's not a user error?
The problem lies between the keyboard and the chair. So, Mr. B said something really cool. He said that anybody can be successful on YouTube, they just aren't willing to do the work. And that's a common refrain. I mean, how many times have you heard that about authors? Anybody can be a successful author. You just have to be willing to do the work, and it's a lot of work, right? And that whole thing about like, oh, it's not work if you love it. No, bull crap. Work is work. I love it, but it is work, and it is work I love doing. And I thought, well, okay, if that's how it is, Mr. Beast, then I'm going to copy you. And he said, basically, is the way to make a viral video on YouTube, and it, wow, seems to be working. And the video's not even out yet because everybody's talking about it, is to do something that requires an extreme amount of willpower and a high level of competence. And so his first viral video is he counted to 100,000 over 40 hours. Just staring at the camera. 1, 2, 3, 4. He got to 100,000 at the 40th hour mark, and then said, "What am I doing with my life?" and passed out. And that video got like 6 million views or something. And I'm not going to count to 100,000, and I'm not going to give away a Lambo, Roland. And I'm not gonna, do all that stuff. What can I do? I can write books, and if I can write 2,000 words per hour for 24 hours, I'll write 48,000 words in a book. And my superhero stuff is around 55 or 60K. But the last 10 usually gets added in editing because I'm an underwriter, not an overwriter. Yeah, and I average when I'm writing superhero stuff, I average 2,500 to 3,000 words per hour. It just usually takes me 40 days because I do it over 40 days, an hour and a half every day for 40 days, and my novel's finished. The fastest I've ever written a novel was I wrote Arsenal in 11 days. And by written, I don't mean like completely ready to go, published and done. I mean like a workable draft. My name is not Joff. It's Jeff, Sam. I'm not British.
Did you want to answer that question from him?
No, sorry. I just saw someone say Joff, and I'm just
He said he can help keep you awake without yawning in your ear if you want during the whole what do you call it 24-hour stream. Yeah, no,
I'm still working on exactly how I can have people come in and join me because I would love to have people come in and like talk to me. My plan so far is every 15 minutes or at the top of every hour for 15 minutes, I'm going to take a break. Use the bathroom, get a new drink, answer any questions that popped up. I seriously don't expect anybody to be there for the entire 24 hours. Honestly, I don't even know if anybody's going to be there at all. It might just be me writing. But writing superheroes comes really naturally to me, and I don't have to stop and do a lot of research like I do with my military sci-fi, trying to get the science right and trying to get the military tactics right. Wraith is she's got amazing regenerative powers. She can teleport. She has heightened senses, and she can shoot like nobody's business. And she enjoys killing people who deserve to die. It's pretty straightforward. You're going to come and read a book about a woman who's a one-man army, who's like the Punisher and John Wick and Batman, but with like zero angst about what she's doing. And we'll also laugh and joke and have a good time while she's killing people. But not without the insanity that is Deadpool. You know what I mean? Like Deadpool is his mental acuity, his mental fitness is questionable. Wraith's not insane. She's on a righteous mission, and she knows what she's doing is right, and she has the ability to tell who the good guys are and who the bad guys are. So there's no. I love the Punisher, but he wouldn't work because you'd be the Punisher for 5 minutes and you'd kill an undercover cop. And Wraith doesn't have that problem because she knows who's lying and who's not. And so it's
what do you think about for example, we had yesterday you seem to have inspired people where they're already jumping onto YouTube and posting themselves during a writing session.
Oh, that's awesome. I love inspiring people, man. I mean, like
James is a great dude. He's super cool.
James
Dude.
James is really cool. Again, when I first got into this business, Chris Fox was the guy to listen to, and Lindsay, and both those two are very different people, but they have a lot of stuff in common. One of the things they have in common is reach out to them, right? They love helping people, and I'm the same way. And I'm just getting to the place in my career where I can legitimately be like, yeah, well, I do this full time. I make a solid living, and I'm not going anywhere because I didn't publish a book for a year, and I still made a full time wage. So, um, I'm there, so to speak. And so, yeah, reach out to me. I love helping people, and it's great to see people be inspired by this. One thing I will tell you, and Chris said the same thing. He's like, the one problem you won't have here is getting the words. The words aren't an issue. He's like, because you turn that camera on and you write like like you've got a gun held to your head. You just write and write and write and write. And I've been doing a lot of test streams. If you check out my YouTube page, I've got a couple of write streams that I've done. And one game of LOL I played badly, testing out that setup. I won it though. You turn the camera on. Like I average probably 1,000 words an hour with my military sci-fi stuff because again, there's a lot of research and they're considerably longer than my superhero books. So there's me stopping and going back and rereading what I wrote, that kind of thing. Turn on the camera and I'm hitting 1,500-1,600 words an hour.
Right on.
And so and also it's been over a year since I wrote a superhero novel, so I'm ready to go. You know what I mean? Like I'm ready to go.
You're right with an outline, or you're more of a pantser, or how does that go for you?
Blank page to finished novel. That's my shtick here. Well, nice. I have struggled to learn how to outline in a way that works for me, and I just can't seem to do it. Every time I try to do it, it ends up adding months to the writing process. So the best I can come up with is what I do is I start writing and things happen and I'm like, okay, I think I know where the story is going now. And sometimes I'll start over. Like the current book I'm on, I'm 53,000 words in. But if I used all the words I have thrown away so far, I'd be over 150,000 words.
Yep.
I kept having to start over because I got it wrong. But with the superhero stuff, I don't usually start over for more than like 10,000 words or whatever. But I really don't think it's going to be a problem just because, again, it's been over a year since I wrote a superhero novel, and I'm really excited to write. I was looking at a book I have unfinished the other day, a superhero book that I never released, having nothing to do with any of my two characters, but in the same universe. And I was like, damn, I should finish this. This is really good. I could probably do it in a day. Maybe I should do that. I'm like, no, focus. Focus. So yeah, that one's really cool because it's like a Japanese American Supergirl, and with like ancestor powers. Anyways, but
do you speak Japanese?
No.
Do you need help?
Yeah, maybe. I might ask you for some certain words. My main character in the military sci-fi, his name is Jacob Grimm, and he's just regular dude, but his first officer is Japanese, and she's from a planet called Ronan. And I don't know, I like different cultures, and I like throwing them in there, and seeing how different religions and cultures play off against each other.
Oh yeah.
Madison is from she's an African American woman. She's Wraith. She's from Louisiana, New Orleans, and wildly different. Place in the world that I'm from is it required me a whole ton of research to get it right. I don't ever write from the hip. I mean, I pants my books plots, but characters I do not pants. Characters are people come for the plot and they stay for the character. If you want a book series to sell, you got to have characters that people love. And so when I was writing Arsenal, she's in a wheelchair. I did a couple of months worth of research on what it was like to be in a wheelchair, so I could get it right and not make fun of it accidentally, or you don't do that. My wife's mixed. She's Hispanic and German. And so Arsenal's mixed, and so that was easy for me to write because especially in the Hispanic community, makes people don't feel like they have a place. They're not Hispanic enough for the Hispanics. They're not white enough for the whites, kind of thing.
I know the pain.
And so that was easy to write for Arsenal. But with Madison, obviously, she being an African American woman, was a lot different. And as a writer, our job is verisimilitude. Our job is telling a story, no matter how outlandish the setting or the abilities or the premise. Whether we're talking about aliens in space or people on Earth, our job is to tell the truth in a fictional way. And if you've ever read a book and said, like, whatever, this character wouldn't do that, then you know you've read a writer who's failed. Or you've seen a movie or a TV show and you're like, wow, the plot demanded that, huh? That's plot armor, whatever. I mean, it's like those are writers that have failed, and I won't be one of those people. My characters' books work the best when the characters' motivations are simple and succinct, and the themes are simple and succinct.
Right
And then everybody, that's why Disney movies work, except for Frozen. Disney movies work because what the characters want. The themes are super simple, and they're spoken, and they all come to a head. I mean, look at like Tangled, right? Or Mulan, or any of the really great Disney movies. Toys, I know it's Pixar, but they're basically the same company these days. And Moana is another great one. Moana, the theme is who are you, right? Who are you? And everybody has that, from Maui to Moana to Fiji. It's everybody's theme, and it's amazing. And so you got to, one of my favorite writers is he wrote The Unit, and he wrote that movie Red Belt. Dave Mamet.
Mm-hmm. Red Belt is awesome.
Yeah, Red Belt. Oh my gosh, the ending of Red Belt, so good.
I've been to several Dan Inosanto seminars, and if you've ever met the man, he is just a wonderful, truly kind-hearted human being that could rip your throat out with a stapler.
Is that the guy he defeats at the end?
No, Dan Inosanto is no. That's Jean-Jacques Machado.
Okay.
But there's Dan Inosanto is the guy that hands him the thing at the end, and he was Bruce Lee's top student in real life, and is just
right. Yeah, I know who that is now. Okay,
wonderful human being. In fact, his daughter was all over the news recently because she was one of the bad guys in The Mandalorian. So I mean, it's just a wonderful family, great people. So yeah, that movie has a special place.
Great movie, right? I love that movie. And Dave Mamet he's won every award a writer can win. He's won Tonys, he's won Oscars, he's won Pulitzers. I mean, he just, there isn't a writing award that a big writing award anyways that he hasn't won. And he says in his masterclass, he talks about how a hero wants one thing, and if you can't say that one thing in a sentence that everybody understands, then you don't understand your hero's motivations. And understanding your hero's motivations allows you to do anything, because once you know what drives somebody, then every decision they make is based on that drive, and it makes sense when you think about it.
And on this show, we're driven by coffee. So if you go to the link down there, keystroke-medium.com, keystroke-coffee, you can get all the different blends, all the different grinds. I mean, oh God, there's so much, so good stuff. Oh, wait, let me see. Product placement. Wait, hold on. We're going to do that. Oh my God, it looks amazingly huge. That's awesome. So that is a writer's block. That's the one with the
so good.
Oh God, that's like I said earlier. That's a great thing too. When you order those bags, they just come in, and even in the mailbox, you're like, "This is going to be my life for the next 2 hours as I suck this down through an IV bag." But we're gonna have to close the curtains because at some point I'm gonna have to sleep, and I can only get so many cups of coffee in a 24-hour period.
I can talk forever.
It's all good. Would you come back and talk a little bit more?
Yeah, possibly? Sure. I'd if you don't mind, I'd love to do like a post. You know what I mean? Do it and then come back and talk about how it worked and
hell yeah,
stuff like that. That'd be great.
That'd be really interesting, actually. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
And then
I'm sorry, I talked about a lot of other things. Part of the problem of this year is that I'm an extrovert, and I have been really depressed because I can't go see anybody or talk to anybody. And so it's like you're like, Jeff, talk. Okay, I'm
Well,
here. Let's talk.
There's you might know podcasters who would be more than happy to hang out with you online.
Sure, yeah, that'd be great.
And that being the case, we have Josh, Scott, and Chuck who does their morning show on 11 a.m. Eastern time on a Monday. That's that's Keystroke Medium Live, where they get some excuse me, they get interesting guests and roundtable discussions, always including a Labrador. On Tuesday morning, 7:30, we have Coffee and Concepts with me and whatever guests I can manage to wrangle. Then on Thursdays, The Writer's Journey with Lauren and Kayleen, where they do their...
I love them.
Yeah, they're so cool. They do their best to dive deep into concepts that can interest a beginning writer or refresh a existing writer. Their show is very cool, very well done. Please check them out. And if you go to YouTube, you can go see Josh Gayu and his long form storytelling format, where he really digs deep into 2 to 4 hour shows where they dissect a subject to bits. And while you're over at YouTube, hit that like and subscribe button so we can do more things, more coolness, and talk about reading, writing, of course, caffeine, and everything in between right here on Keystroke Medium. Thanks, guys.